guest is Dr. Rashad Khalifa, who he devoted most of his life for his own mission: reading, learning, writing, researching, and also preaching. But he is most remembered by his last computer research, the divine mathematical codes in the Quran, based on number 19. According to the Quran, Surah number 74, verse number 30, عليها 19. Over it are 19. But why 19? That's what Dr. Khalifa will explain in this interview. Please, brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome with me Dr. Rashad Khalifa. Dr. Khalifa, I know I didn't introduce you well enough.
You did very well.
And I think the best way to introduce you is to introduce yourself with your own words.
You did a good job. This is what really counts. I did research in the Quran, and I was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see the mathematical code in the Quran, and this is really sufficient for an introduction.
Well, I think
you did a good job. So keep it like
thank you. But I think also we are entitled to know how much benefit this. It's great. It's honor actually to have it. But we would like to know how this mathematical codes goes and how far it's benefit and beneficial to the Muslim in his own living life. I mean, the Quran itself is miracle, and there's a lot of ways to prove that the Quran is miracle. If you read it in Arabic, you will see a lot of verses applies to itself that the Quran it's miracle, and it's the word, really the word of God. But
well, this is the first physical evidence. The Quran is full of miracles, but all of them are disputable. The linguistic excellence, the scientific miracles, and all these things. The Quran is full of miracles, but the mathematical miracle is indisputable. It's physical, based on physical facts. Like Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim being 19 letters, the number of surahs being 114. All these are physical facts. Like the sun rising from the east, it is indisputable, unlike the previous miracles. So, and this is in accordance with God's will in Surah 41, verse 53, where God says, "Sanurihim ayatina fil afaq." This is in the future tense. Sanurihim. We will show them our miracles in the horizons and within themselves until they realize that this is the truth. So the miracles of the Quran are increasingly powerful. And then we get to this mathematical miracle, which is described by God Himself as one of the greatest miracles. The surah that you mentioned, 74, alayha 19, verse 30. And then the verses go on and saying that this is one of the greatest miracles. It says, كَلَّا وَالْقَمَرِ وَاللَّيْلِ إِذْ أَدْبَرَ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا أَسْفَرَ إِنَّهَا لَإِحْدَى الْكُبَرِ. It is one of the greatest miracles, and this is God's own description of it.
You mean here, the miracles, it's the computer age, right? That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I noticed,
the computer
I noticed, excuse me for this, I noticed you used God, you didn't use Allah, which the Quran always says Allah, because the Quran came in Arabic, it didn't come in English or in Persian, it came in Quran Arabic.
Actually, I did say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at least one
but
time.
I noticed you say God.
It depends on what language you speak.
Yeah,
if you speak English, you have to say God. If you speak Arabic, you have to say Allah.
But we all, okay.
Because as you know, you're from Egypt, and you know the Egyptian Copts use the word Allah. You say Insha'Allah, and say MashaAllah, and some of them are named Abdullah.
Yes.
So Allah is the Arabic word, and has nothing to do.
Using God, it's already okay.
Of course it is.
It's okay to
Depends
use
what language you use. If you meet somebody in the street and say Allah, here in the United States, some people think Allah is a man who's named Allah, or Allah is a rock somewhere. And this is an actual happening. My son was in a class where they taught that Allah is a rock. My son had to object.
But we have nothing to do with this because there's a lot of.
What I mean is, it depends on what language you use. If you use English, you have to say God. If you use French, you have to use de. If you use Farsi, you have to use Khuda.
Okay.
If you use Arabic, you use Allah.
Let's go back again also to the computer. I would like to know how far it's beneficial to the human being. I'm a Muslim,
yes.
And you discovered that the computer page discovered that the Quran.
You're asking about the role of the mathematical code.
Yes, to the
Muslims. To the Muslims and the non-Muslims.
To the Muslims.
This is mentioned in the Quran immediately after the number 19.
Okay.
It says, it gives you 5 reasons
for
the number 19. It says, وَمَا جَعَلْنَا عِدَّتَهُمْ, that we made the number for the following reasons. Number 1, فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, to disturb the disbelievers. فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, to prove their disbelief. لِيَسْتَيْقِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. This is the number 2 reason. Is to make the believers among the Christians and the Jews certain that this book, the Quran, is from God. لِيَسْتَيْقِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. Number 3, وَيَزْدَادَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِيمَانًا. So the people who believe that the Quran is from God before the number 19, without the number 19, when they see the mathematical code, they will increase in faith. يَزْدَادَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِيمَانًا. And the 4th reason, وَلَا يَرْتَابَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. If any of the Muslims or the Christians or the Jews have any doubt in their heart that this book, the Quran, is from God, the mathematical code will help remove all this doubt.
But there is
number 5 in the verse says, وَلِيَقُولَ الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ وَالْكَافِرُونَ مَاذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِهَذَا مَثَلًا. And to expose the hypocrites and disbelievers, they will say, so what? This is not important. So these are the 5 reasons that God Himself gives as the role of the number 19 or the mathematical code in the Quran.
Make the Muslim strongly believe that the Quran from God.
Exactly.
But there is surahs, there is ayahs in the Quran by Arabic approve to the Muslim and the non-Muslim that the Quran is miracle, it's the word of God. Like, for example, like وَيُكَوِّرُ اللَّيْلَ عَلَى النَّهَارِ.
Yes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, He covered the ground with the night, and
He rolls the day around the night and the night around the day, proving that the earth is round.
How the messenger of God approved this, how the messenger of God knows that. In the centuries later, they start to approve this. So if we go through the Quran, we will find a lot
of things. Let us say that this verse will cause someone to believe in the Quran.
Yes. Yes.
This person, when he or she looks at the mathematical code, God says in the Quran, not I am saying, yes. God says that his belief will increase, his faith will increase. يَزْدَادَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِيمَانًا. So this is an additional confirmation or assurance or increase in faith.
All right. There is also another thing. You believe, when we talk now, we don't believe in Hadith or Sunnah. Do you believe in Hadith or Sunnah?
I believe that the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed because God says so in the Quran.
And we don't have to use Hadith or Sunnah at all.
It doesn't matter any other source.
I noticed in the prayer here, you never mentioned the messenger of God, like you ignored him completely. Do you have anything against him? Because you ignored, you said, no, let's talk.
Is it true that I mentioned the
you say Allah. Then when you prayed, you read Fatiha, but you didn't read Quran.
Yes.
Something, it's actually, I hope you will correct me if I'm mistaken or something.
Yes.
New to any Muslim, because we know that when we say Allah, Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah, wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. This is a part of Islam. You can't separate it. You can't say, Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah. I bear witness, there is no God but one God, and you hold that the messenger Muhammad is the messenger of God. If you hold it, you mean your shahada is incomplete.
Is that right?
Well, that's what I believe. I hope
let's look in the Quran again. If you look in the Quran gives you the correct shahada.
Okay.
And this is in Surah number 3, verse 18. It says, شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط. So the shahada, according to Allah, the angels and those who know, أولو العلم, is لا إله إلا الله. There is no Muhammad Rasulullah there. This is one thing.
Well, when you hold
شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم. So this is the correct shahada as dictated in the Quran. When you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you violate the most basic commandments in the Quran. The first one is the principle of Tawheed. You are not commemorating God alone. You are putting a name besides God, another name besides God. You are making distinction among the messengers of God. And this is an important commandment that you see in Surah 2, verse 285, for example. It's mentioned 4 times in the Quran that you shall not make any distinction among the messengers of God. And it is done so powerfully that any Muslim who makes distinction is not a Muslim at all, because the Quran says, لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا. And this is about the mu'mins. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا.
That's about the Muslim. He doesn't.
No.
He shouldn't have to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, but he believed La ilaha illallah, and he believed all the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are equal. No distinction between.
When was the last time you said La ilaha illallah Yunus Rasulullah?
Well, you actually don't say Yunus or you say.
Answer my question. When was the last time you said La ilaha illallah Yunus Rasulullah?
I hope you will understand me. I'm not debating you. I'm not arguing.
No, I'm just trying to illustrate the point of the distinction among the prophets.
Okay.
When was the last time you said La ilaha illallah Yunus Rasulullah?
Okay. When I say La ilaha illallah,
yes.
Muhammad.
Wait.
I will answer your question. I will not answer the way you want. I answer the way.
No. Just yes or no. It's yes or no. When was the last time you said La ilaha illallah Yunus Rasulullah?
When I say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, it's admitting that I admit all the messenger up to Muhammad. I believe in
you. You didn't say that.
That's what I admit. No, I believe in all the messenger, including the last messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Muhammad is not the last messenger.
Well, this is another
point. Where do you get that? Where do you get Muhammad is the last messenger?
Let's continue.
Okay, let me ask another question. Is Muhammad dead or alive?
This is al-Muha and Allah. He dead. As far as I know, as a human being, he died.
Muhammad is dead.
As far as I know. Am I coming to be questioned or I'm questioned?
What do you mean? No, we're dealing with your question. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. We're looking at this statement from the logical point of view. Forget anything else.
Yes.
Just God gave us a mind that He wants us to use. So you are saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, which means what in English?
I bear witness, there is no God but one God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God.
Muhammad is the messenger of God. Yes. So my question is Muhammad dead or alive?
What do you think?
What I think, the Quran says Muhammad is dead. Yes. We know that Muhammad is dead unless he's 1,400 and some years old.
Yes.
Sitting somewhere.
Okay.
But he's in the grave now. He's dead, right?
Okay.
Now, do you think a dead man can be a messenger of God?
No longer after he died.
Exactly. So why do you say Muhammad is the messenger of God? He's not. He could not be a messenger of God because he's dead. Is this true?
I will go for it for the time being. Okay. Let's go.
Can a dead man be a messenger of God?
He was a messenger of God.
Exactly.
He completed his
therefore, the correct statement would be Muhammad kana Rasulullah. Therefore, the statement La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is wrong, even from the purely logical point of view. However, like I said, the Shahada is in the Quran. Unfortunately, the Muslims do not follow the Quran. And it says, شَهِدَ اللَّهُ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ وَأُولُو الْعِلْمِ. Therefore, anyone who says anything but La ilaha illallah is not among ulul ilm. He doesn't know. He's ignorant. It's due to ignorance. This is why in the khutbah you saw me say La ilaha illallah. This is it. This is all we say.
Also, you said you believe in the Quran, nothing but the Quran, and we don't have to pay anything for hadith. Why? We don't have to pay any attention to hadith. Why?
Because God says in the Quran that the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed. And the question is, do you believe God or not? If you believe God, you believe that the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed. Listen to this. This is verse 114 in Surah 6. It says, أَفَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ أَبْتَغِي حَكَمًا وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكِتَابَ مُفَصَّلًا. Shall I seek other than God at the source of law when He sent down to you this book fully detailed? مُفَصَّلًا, fully detailed.
Okay.
Therefore, if you go to anything else, you will be a rejecter of the Quran. You have rejected, you have disbelieved God. So this is the reason why. It doesn't matter how great the hadith is.
You know, the Muslims usually, when they use the hadith, it doesn't mean that they are overlapping the Quran. No, the Quran, it's the divine constitution of God to mankind. And who perform that constitution to mankind better than Muhammad, the messenger of God, the one who revealed it, the one who received it and delivered it to mankind. People always like to follow the one who received it and see how he performed it, how he showed to the people. Then they follow his way of performing the constitution of God. It's mean like when I follow the hadith, doesn't mean I'm aware of the Quran. As far as I know, I hope you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just saying my statement, and I'm sure you will have a comment on it. That's as far as I know about the Muslim, how they use hadith. What do you think?
Well, first of all, if the Quran is fully detailed, not if the Quran, I mean, I know the Quran is fully detailed. God says the Quran is fully detailed, therefore you don't need anything else. We know that the hadith are, we know now from many, many years of research that the hadith are fabrications attributed to the Prophet. Now, the Shaitan knows that we love the Prophet very much, and he used that as a bait. To catch, when you catch fish, you put bait on a hook.
I think if you excuse me for interrupting you, Dr. Khalifa, the Muslims, they are aware of a lot of hadith being injected to hadith, not like Quran.
No, I'm talking about the Sahih Bukhari, for example.
Okay.
Sahih Bukhari is full of contradictions, blasphemies against the Prophet. I can show you literally hundreds of hadith that are considered attacks on the Prophet. They distract from the greatness of the Prophet Muhammad. So, but the important point, Abdul Rahman, is that God says the Quran is complete, perfect, fully detailed. This is the important point. So, if you give me a hadith that is fantastic and great and has all the qualities of the best things in the world, I still cannot go to it because God tells me the Quran is complete, perfect, and fully detailed. But the fact is that the hadith is actually a blasphemous attack against the Prophet. And I gave you an issue, the Muslim perspective in Arabic, proving that. I'm talking about Sahih Hadith of Bukhari. They are a transgression against the Prophet.
So you are ignoring completely the great teacher of Islam, which Muhammad, peace be upon him, he was the great teacher, was the main source and the great. He is the one who received the message of Allah, and he taught it to the people. So I consider him, he is my leader.
You are missing the point.
Okay, let me know it.
Yeah, you're missing the point.
Okay.
The hadith was never uttered by the Prophet.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the Prophet. Because did the Quran come out of the Prophet's mouth?
How it come out?
Did the Quran come out of the Prophet's mouth?
I will ask you, you won't ask me. How did it come out?
No, it doesn't matter how.
Okay, you tell me how it come out.
The Quran says that Gabriel brought it.
Really? How he revealed it to Muhammad?
Yes, through Gabriel. God revealed
to
Quran. Yes, to Muhammad. Came out of his mouth.
Whose mouth?
Muhammad's mouth.
Muhammad's mouth.
Right. Therefore, if you want to follow Muhammad, you follow the Quran because it came out of Muhammad's mouth.
Yes.
So I don't know what the people are thinking.
If I am an Arabian illiterate, don't understand that highly quality Arabic language of the Quran, miracle of the Quran, and I would like to understand who will teach me and show me the right way more than the one who revealed it from God.
Right.
Peace be upon him. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Have. That's why Muhammad, he put the hadith.
Are you saying Muhammad is the teacher of Quran?
He is interpreted the Quran to the Muslims.
He was forbidden from interpreting the Quran.
He was.
Yes. This is in the Quran in Surah 75, verse 19.
Yes.
It says, ثم إن علينا بيانا. He said, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Tell Muhammad, don't move your tongue, or in English here, in American English, don't open your mouth. إن علينا جمعه وقرآن. That we are the ones who will reveal it and put it into the Quran. فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآن. Once we have it in the Quran, you, Muhammad, follow the Quran. ثم إن علينا بيانه. God is saying that I'm the one who will explain it. So the Prophet is forbidden from explaining the Quran. In another surah, Surah 69, starting at verse 38, we see that if the Prophet uttered anything else other than the Quran, he will go to hell. It says, وَلَوْ تَقَوَّلَ, it says, to go from the beginning, it says, إنه تنزيل رب العالمين. وما هو بقول شاعر قليلا ما تذكرون وهو بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون. Okay, yeah. فلا أقسم بما تبصرون. This is the strongest oath in the Quran. فلا أقسم بما تبصرون وما لا تبصرون. I swear by the things you see and the things you do not see. Now this is not swearing by the sun or the moon or the time or anything. This is swearing by everything in the universe. إنه لقول رسول كريم. This Quran is the utterance of an honorable messenger. وما هو بقول شاعر قليلا ما تؤمنون. It is not the utterance of a point. وما هو بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون. It is not the utterance of a soothsayer or some an Egyptian bakkash, somebody who's bakkash.
What's bakkash?
تنزيل سوس كاهن.
Okay.
تنزيل من رب العالمين. It came from the Lord of the universe. ولو تقول علينا بعض الأقاويل. If he uttered anything else, لأخذنا منه باليمين ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين فما منكم من أحد عنه حاجزين. None of you can protect him. It's because this interruption of the English language, I hope I didn't mess up the verses, but this is the general idea. فلا أقسم بما تبصرون وما لا تبصرون إنه لقول رسول كريم وما قول شاعر قليلا ما تؤمنون ولا بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون تنزيل من رب العالمين ولو تقول علينا بعض الأقاويل لأخذنا منه باليمين ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين فما منكم من أحد عنه حاجزين. So the Prophet Muhammad was forbidden from explaining the Quran or uttering any additional religious teachings, and this is in the Quran.
So you are actually trying to tell me there is no way we have to follow the hadith of the Messenger of God or follow his way or anything. We have the Quran, we have to stick with it.
You still miss the point. It is not the hadith of the Messenger of God. It is the hadith attributed to the Messenger of God.
Yes.
Because the Prophet Muhammad will never disobey God.
Okay.
And God told him, you have the Quran and nothing else. And this is in verse 19, Surah 6. It says, قُلْ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَكْبَرُ شَهَادَةً. Who is better in testimony? قُلِ اللَّهِ شَهِيدٌ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ وَأُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ لِأُنذِرَكُمْ بِهِ وَمَنْ بَلَغَ. I was given this Quran to deliver to you and the future generations.
I think
wait a minute. It did not say أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ وَالْحَدِيث.
No, I think I agree with your point for one reason, because we will be, as Muslims, all of us who will be judged by the Quran. But I disagree about one thing because the hadith, I have to follow the messenger of God, the one who received the Quran and he delivered it to me as a Muslim. If I ignore it,
but you miss the point again. The hadith came from Satan, not from Muhammad.
I have to be aware what's the right hadith, what's wrong hadith. But ignoring the messenger of God, that is a question I would like to
elaborate on. You know the messenger of God?
No, if I ignore the hadith, if I ignore
this is the hadith of Satan. If I prove to you that the hadith from Satan, you still want to follow it?
No.
So if I come to you just because the shaitan came to you and said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, you believe it?
if it's
when we say Satan walks from this door, wearing a turban,
revealed.
and says, "Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." You're gonna follow it?
It's been narrated by most scholar religion in Islam, which are well known that they are being following the messenger of God, and they know what he saws, and they are witness, and we are taking them, holding them. There are witness Muhammad, because what
they never witnessed Muhammad.
Well, that's
the first hadith that was recorded was 250 years after Muhammad, across 8 generations of the dead.
So from the period Muhammad died to 250 years, there was no hadith at all.
That's right.
I see. You believe in the
There was no recorded hadith. People were making up hadith at the time. For example, you come to my house and I have only fish to feed you. If you object, then I tell you, the Prophet said if you eat fish alone, you're going to be great. So people made this kind of hadith. And it was not recorded or anything. So Bukhari came 250 years later and claimed that the Prophet said these things. And as you know, Bukhari eliminated 90% of the things that he wrote himself. And still, whatever is left, the thousands of hadith, are attacking and blaspheming against the Prophet.
Okay, let's move to another point, because if we're going to continue talking about this point, we will never finish it.
Well, this point should be finished because God says the Quran is complete, perfect, fully detailed.
Okay.
And the Quran says that telling Muhammad to tell us that he brings only the Quran. The last verse in Surah 50 says, فَذَكِّرْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مَنْ يَخَافُ وَعِيدٍ. Deliver the message of the Quran. It didn't say Quran and Sunnah, Quran and Hadith. فَذَكِّرْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مَنْ يَخَافُ وَعِيدٍ.
But there is a lot of surahs also remind the Muslim to follow Allah and the Messenger of God.
Yes.
For example, like I have some. يا أيها الذين آمنوا آمنوا بالله ورسوله والكتاب الذي نزل على رسوله والكتاب الذي أنزل من قبل. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also confirmed to the people to pray to Muhammad, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praying to us. As far as I know, I hope you will understand me and you will correct me if I'm wrong. وَيَقُولُونَ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ.
So why do you disobey him then? Why are you disobeying him when he tells you to uphold that the Quran is complete, fully detailed, and you shall uphold the Quran alone? Why do you disobey him and go to something else?
I see.
You see in the Quran it's telling you أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول. So why don't you listen and obey Allah and the Rasul?
Okay, by obeying the Messenger of God and obeying, because I know that the Messenger of God, he is being taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was orphan and he is taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was perfect.
Okay.
He was perfect.
This reason for you to disobey him?
No, to obey him.
You're not obeying him. When you go to other than the Quran.
To obey him.
But you are disobeying him.
And his way of life. Way of life.
But if you follow anything other than the Quran, you are disobeying the Prophet.
I see. Okay.
So therefore, you must be if you are reciting these verses, you have to do them yourself. أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول.
Yes.
If you obey Rasul, you will uphold the Quran. The whole Quran, nothing but the Quran. If you go to anything other than the Quran, you are not obeying the Messenger.
So you believe in the Quran from the cover to the cover. You believe in this Quran, and our speaking to each other now, we will speak according to the Quran.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. You said, I think, one of your brochures here, if you allow me to read it to you, or just to say it here, you said, providing indisputable evidence for the exposure and removal of 2 human-made sentences that were injected into the Quran at the end of the last surah, revealed in Medina, surah number 9. In other words, you say here that the human being injected some surahs in the Quran.
Verses, yes.
Some verses in the Quran.
Yes.
So this Quran, the one in my hand here in Arabic, the one in my hand in Arabic, it's not completely perfect. It's been injected by man-made surahs. You believe in that?
Right.
Okay. And also
this Quran is not correct.
It's not correct.
But we know the correct Quran. I can show you a Quran that is correct and complete.
You will show me in a minute, but let me continue this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّ لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took an oath on him to guard the Quran. Because mankind couldn't guard the Torah or the Bible. So Allah took an oath on him to guard the Quran. In your translation, you said, we have sent down for this verse. We have sent down the revelation and we will surely preserve it. In Yusuf Ali translation, what he says, we have without doubt set down, excuse me, let me, in Yusuf Ali translation, which most of the Muslim people, they are taking by Yusuf Ali translation the Quran, we have without doubt sent down the message and we will assuredly guard it from corruption.
I agree with that.
You agree about that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would like you to elaborate on this point. Dr. Khalifa?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carried out his promise and he preserved the Quran perfectly. I can show you a Quran that is perfect in the way it was sent down, and the way it was written.
I would like to see it now.
Right.
Okay.
And the way every letter of it is preserved. Not a single letter is added and not a single letter is lost.
Yes.
However, if you go to Egypt or Iran today, you're going to see that the Quran is printed with some mistakes in them.
Okay.
But this does not negate the fact.
Let's be clear now. Let's be clear before
Let's
you
negate
go.
the fact.
Let's be clear before you go.
Yes.
This Quran, it's been in the whole world, through Iran, through Persia, through Arabic world. This Arabic Quran, it's not real Quran.
There's some mistakes in it.
It has mistakes in it.
Right.
And you have the one.
But the point is that God did preserve the perfect Quran and we have it.
You have it.
It's all over the world.
It's with whom? With you. It's
even here. You can find it here also, as long as you mark the mistakes. There are few mistakes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. It means
so how do you
we
explain,
will never allow anybody to inject even one single.
How do you explain the fact that in Iran today printing millions of Qurans that do not follow the Quranic writing? They like, for example, the word Salah is written Sad Lam Alif He, and instead of Sad Lam Waw He, as in the original Quran. How do you explain that? You mean God failed to carry out His promise? Is this what you think?
No, I'm not thinking of anything. I would like.
Okay, I'm saying that it doesn't matter what people do with the Quran. They can take it and mess it up and do anything they want. This is what they want to do. This is only ink and paper. But the Quran that God sent down is preserved exactly in the way that it was written, and without adding or losing a single letter. So this promise of God, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, is kept. However, I must point out something to you. When there is a law like the law of preservation of the Quran, this law does not exist unless it is violated. Do you understand what this means?
Yes, I'm following you.
Okay. For example, if there is a law that Abdurrahman Salim cannot leave this room, if you stay in this room forever, nobody will ever know that this law exists. This true?
As far as I understand.
Okay, now, but if you violate this law and try to leave the room, and then you are forced back in, then we know that the law exists. Therefore, the violation of the sacredness of the Quran proves that God preserved it because we detected the mistakes. We know exactly where any letters were added or removed, and we have the perfect Quran.
You have
because God fulfilled His promise.
Yes. Do you think you can?
And the perfect Quran is contained in here. It is included in here. But people added some of their errors in here. However, it doesn't make any difference because the perfect Quran is in existence.
If I am an ordinary Muslim walking in the street and I picked up this Quran, for the witness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do I know this is right and this is wrong and this is injected?
You are either a sincere Muslim or you're an insincere Muslim. Is this correct? Mm-hmm. Now, God knows that, right?
Yes.
Now, when God knows that you are a sincere Muslim, He will see to it that you be guided to the correct Quran, to the perfect Quran. Okay. If you're not a sincere Muslim, you will be left to, you will have a fake Quran. A fake Muslim has a fake Quran, a true Muslim has a true Quran. This is a rule of thumb.
Okay. You
A
also
sincere believer has a perfect Quran.
okay.
An insincere person does not have a perfect Quran.
Okay. You said also in your writing in your paper brochures, you said the Old Testimony and the New Testimony, and also the final testimony referring to the Quran, which I believe, as far as I know, you also, I hope you will correct me if I'm mistaken. Muslims, they don't like to use or to apply this word, this old and new and final, to the word of God. We know that this word is been used by Jewish and Christian, not by the Muslim. The Muslim, he knows that the word of God from Adam to Muhammad, it's the word of God, never been old, never been used, never been, it's word of God. When we say the word of God, it's the word of God. But
you don't like using the Old Testament, New Testament?
No, I'm just asking, wondering.
No, I like to use it, but if you don't like to use it, go ahead, man. Don't use it.
So that's the only answer you have, right?
Right.
Okay. You said also Muhammadans,
Yes.
the worst enemies of God.
Yes.
Beware of Muhammadans,
Yes.
the worst enemies of God.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Quran, did the Quran say that?
Yes.
That the Quran said the one who follows Muhammad will be my worst enemy?
The one who worships Muhammad.
The way we worship. You know the Muslim that you never worship Muhammad.
You indicated at the beginning of this interview that you worship Muhammad.
How?
You said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
It's
You
not
talked
worship,
as if Muhammad is alive. Wait. You put Muhammad's name next to Allah's name. This is shirk. By definition, this is shirk.
According to Surah Quran,
You made a statement that Muhammad is a messenger of God. When he's dead, he's not alive. Only God is alive. This is why God says, "Tawakkal al-hayy alladhi la yamut." Put your trust in the living one who never dies. Because Muhammad is dead. And when you put his name, when you put Muhammad's name, a human creature of God, next to God, the name of God, this is worshipping without knowing it. So you're worshiping Muhammad without knowing it, because you do not follow the Quran that came out of Muhammad's mouth because of your reverence for Muhammad, which is another word for it, idol worship. The Quran tells you, لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله, do not make any distinction among the prophets or the messengers of God. وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا, in other words, you do not argue, you say we hear and we obey, we do not make any distinction. But you defy this and you make a distinction. And all this because you love Muhammad too much. Now loving Muhammad too much is like the Christians loving Jesus too much and worshipping him. And therefore, worshipping Muhammad or practicing shirk, God says there is a law, إِنَّهُ مَنْ أَشْرَكَ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ, that heaven is forbidden for those who make shirk. And shirk, by definition, when you say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, this is shirk by definition, because, let me put it for you in human terms, if you invite me to your house for dinner, you can invite me alone, right? Yes. You say, Rashad, come to my house alone by yourself. Then this will be, I'm coming to your house alone. However, you can also say, I will invite you to dinner to my house, but bring your servant with you. Okay? Then I'm not invited alone anymore. This is shirk. There's a sharika, more than one person coming to your house. Even though you are acknowledging that other person is my servant, it still is shirk. So when you say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, this is shirk by definition, and this is exactly why God teaches us in the Quran that the shahada is La ilaha illallah.
Okay.
The shahada of Allah, al-malaika, the angels, and ulul ilm, the people who know.
Correct me if I am wrong.
So Muhammadans is the correct expression to
if
describe.
I'm a Muslim and I will say La ilaha illallah, by saying Muhammad Rasulullah means that I approve and admit and bear witness that I will accept the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came through Muhammad.
No.
But if I say
you don't reject the opposite. When you say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, you are saying, I reject Muhammad and his message. This is what it means.
How? Explain it.
By breaking the commandments in the Quran. By breaking the commandment of making distinction among the prophets. By putting another name besides the name of God. And violating the basic principles of the Quran.
I'm putting a name inside by my God, because loving Muhammad is loving God, because Muhammad, he devoted most of his life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to his message, to in his birth.
If you love him,
by loving Muhammad,
Why disobey him? Why do you disobey him then? If you love him, why do you disobey him? He told you do not make distinction among the Muslims. He told you that the Shahada is La ilaha illallah. So why do you continue to disobey him then if you love him, if you really love him? Why don't you obey him? Why don't you follow the Quran that came out of his mouth? You know, we have to think about that.
I'm listening to that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The issue, أن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه. You do not believe in this.
Of course I believe in that.
You believe in this?
Yes.
How do you believe in it?
Well, do you know what يصلون عليه means?
What means?
Also, do you know what النبي means in the Quran? Also, do you know that 13 verses before this, God says that He and His angels do the same thing for every believer?
Yes.
In the same surah.
Yes.
It says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا, O you who believe, اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا, commemorate God continuously, وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا, glorify Him day and night. هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. So, إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي, because the Nabi is one of the believers. Why? To take him out of darkness into the light, just like the other verse. And it says, oh, you who believe, do the same thing, help him also come out of the darkness into the light. So that's what it says. You have to understand. You have to understand what the verse means, because Satan messed up this verse for the Muslims and made them, and instead of اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا, الشيطان اللعين, Satan, decided that he's going to make the people commemorate Muhammad day and night. And يسبحوا Muhammad day and night instead of God. So they keep saying, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, alayhi salatu wa salam, instead of saying, subhanallah, la ilaha illallah, and so on. So Satan succeeded in tricking and duping the Muslims into commemorating Muhammad instead of God by messing up the meaning of this verse. Now, the expression an-Nabi in the Quran, you have to watch this, and I challenge the so-called ulama in this subject, because an-Nabi in the Quran is always in the Quran during his lifetime, when he was alive. The word an-Nabi. Like, لا ترفعوا صوتكم فوق صوت النبي. How can you carry out this commandment now? Do not raise your voice over the voice of the Prophet. When he's dead, this means you don't speak at all, because his voice is still. If you do it now. So, the word Nabi, يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء. How can the Prophet divorce his wife when he's dead? يا أيها النبي لم تحرموا ما حل الله لك. So, consistently in the Quran, the word Nabi is during his lifetime. So, إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي means Muhammad during his lifetime. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه during his lifetime. Help him, support him during his lifetime. Not after he's dead and every time you hear his
but
name.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he always precisely in the Quran, when he mentioned things, we are carrying it as it is because we follow the Quran as you said.
That's right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say, يا أيها الذين آمنوا in the time of the messenger. Meaning after the death of the messenger, do not sallu ala Muhammad.
You don't know what the meaning of sallu alayhi means.
So pray to him like or supporting him.
Right.
That's all supporting the
Sallu comes from the word sila, see, contact, connection. Stay close to him, help him, support him.
Yes.
It doesn't say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because it contradicts itself.
Yes.
You know, it says at the beginning, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. So do you agree that Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi?
This is the present time.
Yes. What?
Yes.
Do you agree that Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi?
Yes, I do.
So Allah wa malaikatahu now yusalluna ala nabi.
Yes.
So why are you telling him to salli ala nabi if he's doing it?
Since Allah and his angels praying on Muhammad, I am as a Muslim should pray on Muhammad and on every single Muslim who believes in Islam.
Yeah, but according to you, you are saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, right?
Yes.
But already Allah tells you that He is making salat on
That's
Muhammad.
why I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept my praying to Muhammad.
No, but He's already doing it. You're asking God to do what He's saying He's doing.
For me.
But you can see that Satan messed up the meaning of this verse.
Yes.
What this really means is during the Prophet Muhammad's time, because of the use of the word An-Nabi, all you who believe, support him and help him and stay in touch with him. That's what it means. But the Muslims messed it up and Satan uses it to make the Muslims worship Muhammad instead of God. This is why I call it Muhammad.
So we shouldn't actually do that. We shouldn't actually mention Muhammad anything as I saw you in the prayer and Jumu'ah prayer here. You never mention Muhammad for anything.
I'll mention if I need to. I mean, what do you want to mention for?
You said, I mean, it's not.
What do you want to mention for?
You don't have to mention.
Why?
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you, why do you want to mention Muhammad?
As a messenger of God.
Well, but the Quran says only the hypocrites say that. Only the hypocrites declare that Muhammad is Rasulullah, because we know that Muhammad is Rasulullah. We don't need to say it.
Okay.
Okay? It says, إذا جاءك المنافقون قالوا نشهد أنك رسول الله والله يعلم أنك رسول والله يشهد أن المنافقين الكاذبون. So throughout the Quran, only the hypocrites say أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
So actually you're ignoring completely the way Muhammad used to live, and to ignoring to take for us as a Muslim to know how Muhammad he used to live his right way according to the Quran, so we have to follow.
Are you ignoring the way Muhammad used to live?
No, I would like to go for it.
So why are you wearing a tie? Did he wear a tie?
We are not going for outside as much inside in prayer.
No, wait a minute. You're talking about the way he lived.
The way he used to live in
do you have your camel parking out there?
In behaving Muslims. See,
yes.
You are going for outside now for the service. We are going for inside. The way he performed the Quran, okay. How he used to.
Do you agree that he gave the Quran?
Yes.
Did you agree that his source was the Quran?
Yes, 100%.
Even according to Hadith, it says كان خلقه القرآن.
Yes.
He represented the Quran, right?
Yes.
Okay, now we have the Quran.
Okay.
So therefore, if you want to follow Muhammad, you follow the Quran.
Okay. How do you
Wait a minute, is this true?
Yes, true.
All right. So this is what we're doing. We're following the Quran, which means we're following Muhammad. However, Muhammad's job was to deliver the message. He did the job. He did a good job, and he's God, and that's his role. He cannot guide you.
And that's it. No more. You don't have to think of.
This is what the Quran says.
That's what the
Quran says. ما على الرسول إلا البلاغ. Two negatives. ما على الرسول إلا البلاغ.
I think, as far as I know, in this surah, it means like you, Muhammad, do not force people to believe in Islam.
Except
you are only responsible for delivering the message.
No, this is a general statement that is not violated anywhere in the Quran. It is repeated. ما على الرسول إلا البلاغ. هل على الرسول إلا البلاغ المبين. And they repeat it many times. So the sole function of the prophet or the messenger is to deliver the message.
That's all.
إنك لا تهدي من أحببت.
ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء.
Right.
This is also supporting the same ayah. So you said it now. It's mean like you don't force the people for believing. No, you just deliver the message and you perform it and teach the people how to do it.
No. So now you're adding other things because it says ما على الرسول إلا البلاغ. There's nothing else.
These people comes to the mosque here. Who they follow? They follow you how to do, right?
No, they follow the Quran.
You hold this Quran. You hold this Quran and you teach them in the Quran, so they sit and they listen and look at you and they say, that's right. Who's right?
The Quran.
Dr. Khalifa right in a way of interpreting the Quran here. So I am following Dr. Khalifa.
No, you're not. If you follow Dr. Khalifa, then you're not right.
It's not right.
That's right.
Okay. And that's also...
Anybody here, and we all know this, we do not follow any person. And we emphasize here, we are worshippers of God alone, we follow the word of God alone.
But if I
say anything that is not in the Quran or contradicts the Quran, I'm the first one to appreciate alerting me to this. Because then I'm wrong. Nobody follows me.
If I am following the Quran, why should come to this mosque to listen to Khalifa?
You don't need here. You don't need.
I look at it in the house. I don't need even to look to Mr.
That's
Khalifa, right?
That's right. Absolutely. You don't need anybody. You don't need Rashad Khalifa or anybody. You just, if you have the Quran, you don't need anybody because you follow the Quran and nothing else.
You said in your brochures here also Islam being practiced today.
Can I go back to your question why we come here to the mosque?
Yes.
There's a command in the Quran that says واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه. It says force yourself to be with those who worship God alone. Because it's a social function. This is why God instituted the Friday prayer every week. So all the believers who follow the Quran alone must get together. They must know each other. They must be united. As you know, throughout the Quran these instructions are there. So this is the only reason we are here. And there are replicas of this masjid in many other places around the world who do not have Rashad Khalifa there. Because we have our leader is the Quran, our Imam is the Quran, our guide is the Quran, the word of God. We are worshippers of God alone. And we go out of our way to destroy persons or idols of any kind, alive or dead. See, so this is the reason we get together here.
In your brochures here also, if you can comment on this please, you said here, Islam being practiced today is severely corrupted beyond recognition. Can you elaborate on this?
Absolutely. The Muslims in the world today do not do anything according to the Prophet Muhammad's teachings. You, for example, did you make wudu today?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you describe it to me?
As usual.
Okay, go ahead, describe it. Number one, you open the faucet.
Yeah.
You wash your hand.
Yes.
Okay.
I wash my face,
Okay.
my arms,
Yeah.
my feet.
Yeah.
That's as far as I know.
Okay, you didn't do your head.
Yes, I do. Of course.
You didn't
My head, my ears.
Your ears.
My mouth, that's sunnah. That's what he said. You said you can follow sunnah. According to
I'm asking you what you did.
well, I
What
did
you actually
exactly
did today.
what I did.
Yeah.
I said,
Wash your hands.
nawaitu sunan al-wudu. There is sunnah before fard.
Right.
Sunnah, it's mean washing my mouth because I am going to stand next to someone. I don't want him to bother my smell.
Breath, yeah.
So I wash my mouth.
Okay, so you wash your hands first.
Yes.
Okay, and then you wash your mouth.
Yes.
Your mouth. And
Yes.
then you
Wash my nose.
your nose.
And my face,
Then you wash your face,
and my arms,
your arms,
my hair,
your hair,
my ears,
your ears,
my feet.
my feet. 8 steps.
Yes.
The 8 steps, right?
Yes.
Okay, now if you look in the Quran, this came out of Muhammad's mouth. I'm taking you as an example because you're telling me that the Muslims practice something that is corrupted, severely corrupted. If you look in the Quran, what came out of Muhammad's mouth is the following. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم من الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. 4 steps. Now Satan will not accept that. He has to have his 4 steps also.
This will help Islam if we add 2 or 3.
Of course.
If I wash my hands.
Yes.
If I wash my hands.
Yes.
And plus my ears.
Yes.
And if I wash thoroughly, if I clean myself, that will help Islam.
Absolutely.
If I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, pray to Allah.
Hold it. Let's stay with the wudu. Okay? We're going to go to other examples. I want to show you that the Muslims do not do anything according to Muhammad's teachings.
Okay.
Out of Muhammad's mouth came the teaching that we should have 4 steps. You made 8 steps. 4 from God and 4 from Satan.
What's wrong with that?
So this is what is wrong with it.
What is wrong?
You have a sharik. You have another God besides God telling you who told you to do additional 4 steps. Another God.
It's more clean.
We want to take a bath.
I take a bath sometimes.
Well, fine, but this has
When I
nothing to
take a
do.
bath, there is no need
We're
for
talking about the worship. Okay, this is talking about ablution as an act of worship.
Yes.
I brush my teeth in the morning when I get up, but this has nothing to do with worship.
Yes.
This is my hygienic practices.
Yes.
Okay, but we talk about the wudu as a form of worship. Do the Muslims follow what came out of Muhammad's mouth? The answer is for you, no. You are not following.
The answer is yes.
No, you're not.
I follow it.
You had
I
8
add
steps.
some more.
Exactly. You add some more.
Some more. To
Right.
be more careful.
Right. Either you know better than God, or you have another God that is adding steps to you.
No, it's
Because what is the source of the other 4 steps?
Excuse me, Dr. Khalifa, this is a mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He say, you people pray 2 rak'ah, and I come to the mosque, I do pray 4 rak'ah.
Yes.
It's mean like I'm not following God, I am praying you Allah 2 rak'ah, and I'm adding another 2 rak'ah for extra for me to make it more.
Then you have another God who told you to do 2 extra rak'ahs. Because the number of rak'ahs is mathematically coded according to the Quran, according to God's system. And if you add anything else, then you have another God who told you to do those 2 rak'ahs.
Let's follow
Let me show you from the Quran. Okay?
Yes.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the angels to fall prostrate, make sujood before Adam, right?
Yes.
They fell prostrate before Adam. Who were they worshipping? Who? They made sujood before Adam. Who were they worshipping?
Who they were worshiping?
Who?
Who?
God.
God.
The source of the order.
Yes.
Right? They were not worshipping Adam.
Yes.
Even though they're making sujood before Adam.
Yes.
They are worshipping the source of the order.
Okay.
So if you make sujood to God, because Muhammad told you to make sujood to God, you're not worshipping God, you're worshipping the source of the order, Muhammad. You understand me? You are breaking the mathematical code, the number of rak'ahs. If God told you to do 2 rak'ahs, you must do 2 rak'ahs.
And if
you add more, then you
that's
break.
against Islam.
Exactly.
I should do exactly 2 rak'ah. No more, no less.
That's right. In your wudu, you must do the 4 steps, no more and no less. Okay, so this is wudu.
Yes.
Now, I asked another question about salah. Okay? Did you pray the noon yesterday?
Yes.
Did you do it silently or loudly?
Silently.
This is against the Quran. You are not obeying the Prophet Muhammad here.
Wow.
Because if you look in Surah 17, verse 110, it says لا تخافت به لا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت به
وابتغي بين ذلك
سبيلا.
Which one? The known one?
110.
The known salah or all the salah?
All the salah didn't say the known or what. It said لا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت به. Do not say your salah in a loud voice or secretly. Therefore, when you do it secretly, you have another God who told you to do it secretly.
No, according to my knowledge,
why do you not follow the Quran?
Let me comment on this because
no,
this is
the point that I'm making is that the Muslims are not following the Quran.
You are damaging. Excuse me for this expression, and I hope you will correct me if I'm wrong. You are damaging completely the ta'aleem of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in his early days. Like Muhammad, he followed, and he and his follower were silent in Dhuhr Salah, in noon prayer, and the Asr afternoon prayer, because they were weak at that time. They were weak at that time, and they were afraid of the Kafirun.
Are you weak now? Are you afraid of the Kafirun?
No, that's why we follow his way.
So, but his way is the Quran.
It's like when you follow a Christmas way as a remembering. It's not damaging. It's not thing. Sometimes actually.
So you disobey the Quran, in other words.
No.
Did you see the Prophet pray silently?
No, this is the Sunnah, what we told us.
This is what you heard, right?
Yes.
So you follow hearsay and you don't follow the Quran.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Let's move.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to go through this because we're going to go through.
You are saying that I'm destroying all the ta'aleem of Muhammad, right? And I'm telling you, I hope I'm destroying what you think is ta'aleem of Muhammad. Because it is not ta'aleem of Muhammad is in the Quran, and he told you not to do the prayer silently. Now, again, can you tell me what you say in your salat sitting down? In the sitting position.
Yes, I noticed also in your salah, as soon as you said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa sallam, mean you didn't say anything at all, right?
What do you say?
التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Well, this extra you don't have to say it, but this is
now this what you just said here nullifies the salah. Okay, makes it zero.
Do you know the occasion? Do you know the occasion of this one?
It violates the Quran and makes it absolutely null and void and useless and a waste of time. Even worse, makes you a Muslim. Because the Quran says, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. That the mosque or the masjid or the places of sujood belong to God. You shall not mention anybody else, anybody else with God. So when you sit down and you mention the name of Muhammad or a Nabi in the Quran, you're finished. You're a dead duck. The salat doesn't mean a thing. You are not disobeying God and disobeying the Prophet. So as you see, the Muslims are practicing a religion that has nothing to do with Muhammad. And they misunderstand that. As you see, the wudu is wrong, the adhan is wrong. The adhan that they do, can you tell me any adhan in any place in the Muslim world that is devoted to Allah alone? And anywhere in the world?
Well, what's the adhan says? Well, why? It always devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only.
Does it mention Muhammad at all?
No, it's mentioned Muhammad is against religion. By mention, once you mention Muhammad, it's like Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. It means I bear witness there is no God but one God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. It means this is the last messenger of God.
Well, the fact is that the adhan is not devoted to God alone. There is Muhammad in it.
Because Muhammad, he is the messenger. He delivered the message to me.
Yeah, but he delivered the message telling you to mention God alone. وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. This is very clear Arabic. It's telling you that this worship belongs to God. Do not mention any other names. And you're telling God, forget it. I'm going to mention Muhammad next to you. You are defying God and defying Muhammad. You're going against the Quran. So let us just think. The Muslims are doing the adhan wrong, the wudu wrong, the salat wrong, the zakat wrong, the siyam wrong, the hajj wrong.
How they do that? Because I would like to go through also the points here you said.
Okay, did you heard about the adhan? You hear about the wudu?
Yes.
You heard about the salat?
Yes.
And now we come to zakat, for example.
Yes.
Okay, if you look in Surah number 6, verse 141, it says that the zakat must be given on the day of harvest. وآتوا حقه يوم حصاده. Okay? Now, you and I, harvest paychecks or dollars. We don't harvest wheat and corn and so on, right?
Yes.
So the day we receive any money, we must give the zakat on that day, immediately. According to the Quran's teachings as who received the zakat and so on. Now the Muslims give the zakat once a year, which means what? The hungry people have to wait a year before they get the assistance.
No, there is a distinguish between zakat and the sadaqah.
Well, we'll talk about zakat. Okay? We'll talk about zakat. وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِهِ. The zakat is haqq. It must be
you interpret zakah haqq min zakah?
No, it's very clear in the verse. It says وَآتُوا حَقَّهُ يَوْمَ حَصَادِهِ. The zakat of the harvest.
Did it mention zakah now?
Yes.
We are going by word.
So what is it? What is حقه?
What's haqqahu means?
Yeah, you tell me what's حقه mean. If you read the verse.
Haqq min sadaqah.
No, sadaqah is not haqq. Sadaqah is voluntary. Okay, there's a difference between zakat and sadaqah.
Yes.
The zakat is obligatory. The sadaqah and is haqq.
Yes. Yes.
But the sadaqah is voluntary. It's any charitable act that you do to any poor person. Okay.
There is zakah for Ramadan, and there's also another zakah for your money.
Yeah, there's just one zakah. There's one zakah which is came to us from Ibrahim, ربع العشر, 2.5%. Came very simple, ربع العشر. And it is given as soon as you receive any income, whenever you receive any income. But the Muslims do it wrong. They do it once a year on their savings. That's not the way it should be.
How also you explain the fasting?
Well, the fasting, they do not, they never agree on the beginning or the end of Ramadan, as you know. They quit any productive work during the month of Ramadan. They become obnoxious creatures, and they are angry easily, and they are very bad people, and they blame it on the fasting. This is not the way to do Siyam. And the Hajj is ruined by going to Medina and worshipping at the tomb of the Prophet.
No, this has nothing to do with Hajj. Everybody knows that when you go to visit the mosque of Rasul,
the hadith says that Hajj is not complete. No, the hadith says that Hajj is not complete without visiting my tomb. And I don't know when he said that, when he was alive or dead. But this, whether it is part of the Hajj or not, it destroys the Hajj.
Yeah, you said you translate the Quran, right?
Yeah.
And you said my translation was authorized by God.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I would like you to elaborate at this point.
Well, when I started to translate, I didn't want to publish it because I thought, I said I will not publish unless it is authorized. And I demanded certain signs that it is authorized, and I received the signs and I published it.
How did you receive it? How did you receive it?
Well, that's a long story. That's beyond this interview. So I'll just leave it at that.
We would like to know it. I think people would like to know what kind of authorization you have.
Come to the conference and I'll give you the details. I'm going to give the details at the conference.
Can't you even give me a hint about it? Like here, probably here you said when I was in Mecca.
I can give you a few hints.
Yes, go ahead, please.
My English translation is the 19th translation. And if you're aware of the mathematical code, the number 19 is the common denominator in the Quran, in the previous scriptures, in you and me, in the universe. And also...
even if I'm a Muslim,
yes.
I have to concentrate on nothing but numbers in Quran. Quran is not numbers. Quran
no, if you do that, you'll be wrong.
Okay, Quran is spirit. The most important thing
is like
the Quran, the word of it, the constitution, I have to follow it, the living life of it. If you approve by numbers that it is the miracle of God, that's enough for me, and I have to move to another point.
That's right, you bet.
Okay.
So how many times did you talk about the number 19 since we started? We're not concentrating on the number 19. You are.
Okay, you concentrate on...
We talked about Salat and Zakat and Hajj and the Quran and the teachings and the Hadith and so on. We didn't talk about the number 19.
Okay, let's talk about number 19 now.
Yeah, but anyway, the signs were abundant that this Quran is authorized. I give here in the Muslim perspective details is about my name and the verses in the surahs where my name is mentioned and so on. So you have to look it up and come to your own conclusions. This is why the translation is authorized.
That's why you claim that you are a messenger of God.
That's right.
You believe that you are a messenger of God, right?
Right.
How do you believe that? Why do you believe this?
Well, I gave you, like I said, I gave you several proofs.
Give me.
And there are many other proofs.
One of the proof is
the discovery of the mathematical code is one.
I mean, like
this is something that's very simple. That's been in the Quran for 1400 years, right?
But no one discovered it.
No one discovered it but me.
And that's
So
why you are a messenger of God.
That's right.
It's mean like the one who invented the aeroplanes, the things I can't even reach my mind. I can't even. I can also put him as a messenger of God because this is something.
Okay, there are 2 points here. The first point is that we're talking about the Quran, which is a special, divinely controlled book. As you heard in the khutbah, no one can touch a word in it unless they are sincere believers. That's what God says. Do you believe that?
Yes, I do.
Believe God when He says that nobody will touch anything in the Quran unless he
How you say it in Arabic?
is a sincere believer?
How you say it in Arabic?
It says لا يمسه إلا المطهرون.
أمسه إلا المطهرون, the one who has nothing to do with.
Okay, it says ومن أظلم من ذكر بآيات ربه ثم أعرض عنه ونسي ما قدمت يداه إنا جعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا.
Yes.
So the person who is not a believer in the Quran will have shields in their heart أكنة على القلوب وفي آذانهم وقرا, and difference in the ear.
It has nothing to do with our point.
وإذا قرأت القرآن جعلنا بينك وبين الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة حجابا مستورا وجعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوه وفي آذانهم وقرا. Do you agree that the believers cannot understand the Quran according to this?
According to the Quran, yes.
Right. Therefore, the people who are not sincere, the people who are liars, the people who are disbelievers, they cannot understand the Quran because God puts shields on their hearts, their minds, and deafness in their ears. Do you agree?
Yes.
So God says that.
Okay.
Therefore, if I am given access to the most important secret in the Quran, can I be a disbeliever who tricked God and discovered the miracle of the Quran? Is this possible?
I think so, probably.
Isn't it? Think anybody can trick God?
No.
Okay, so any disbeliever cannot trick God and sneak behind His back and see something in the Quran,
when
right?
you claim you are a messenger of God, you are not tricking God. This is
No. Talk about discovering the miracle of the Quran as a sign of messengership.
There is
right?
a lot of ways to discover. Hundreds scholars they discovered that the Quran is miracle by its words, by its verses.
And those are good people.
And that's not.
Are they good people?
They taught us how miracle, how beautiful the Quran by its words, not by its numbers.
Okay.
It's fascinating when you understand the Quran by its words, by the Quran itself.
Are you familiar with the mathematical code?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, so you have to look at it and understand it first to appreciate that.
Do you think you can give a brief idea for the...
Yes, absolutely, okay.
Thank you.
It's a physical fact that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is the first verse in Quran, consists of 19 letters. It is a physical fact that the surahs of the Quran are 114, 19 times 4. It is a physical fact that the first words revealed were 19 words. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. These are 19 words. It is a physical fact that this first surah, Surah Al-Alaq, consists of 19 verses. It is a physical fact that this surah, Al-Alaq, is on top of the last 19 surahs in the Quran. It is a physical fact that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, let me go to deeper facts. The number of verses in the Quran is 6,346, which is a multiple of 19. If you count the word Allah in the Quran, you'll find that it is 2,698, 19 times 142. The word the Quran in the Quran is mentioned 57 times, 19 times 3. In 38 surahs, 19 times 2. When you take the verses where the word the Quran is mentioned, you find that the total is 2,660, 19 times 140. Allah wahdahu in the Quran, when you look at here in the index, I will let you look it up yourself. Look here, Mr. Abdussalam. Wahdahu, when it says about Allah wahdahu, Surah 7, verse 70, this is the Quran wahdahu, so we don't count it. But here is Allah wahdahu. 39:45.
Okay. I should put it like this, and you can concentrate.
No, you just get this from the library.
You can do it. You can show me.
No, it will not come this way. But you get this معجم المفهرس. Okay, from any library, any Islamic library, any Islamic center, and look at page 745, and you look at the surahs and verses where Allah wahdahu is mentioned. Okay, Surah 7 verse 70, Surah 39 verse 45, Surah 40 verses 12 and 84, Surah 60 verse 4. You add these numbers, you come to 19 times 19. Okay, the word wahid, when it refers to God, is 19 times. So this goes on and on. Surah Qaf has 57 qafs, 19 times 3. Surah Noon has 133 noons, 19 times 7. The three surahs initial with Sad have 152 Sads, 19 times 8. And it goes on and on. I believe you recited in the blue book.
How do
So this proves that every letter.
Yes. How do you calculate all of this from the Quran itself here?
Yes.
And at the same time, you say this Quran been injected with different letters, different sources. How? Well, now it's
two verses.
There's
Verses.
only 2 verses been injected in the Quran.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Quran is perfect.
Yes. This is how the 2 verses were discovered, because they stand out like a sore thumb. They ruin the words. Listen to this.
Yes.
All the forms, the word God. Are distorted in these 2 verses. The word Allah, there is one extra in these 2 verses. Listen to me. The word Allah, there are 2,698 in the Quran. If you include these 2 verses, it becomes 2,699, which is not a multiple of 19. The word Ilah is also by one. And the word Rabb.
Okay, let me show the answer before you go through what kind of 2 verses Dr. Khalifa is talking about. In the Surah Tawbah, in the last 2 verses says لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم فإن تولوا فقل حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. Dr. Khalifa, he, according to his words, says this is not Quran, this has been injected in the Quran.
Yes.
Would you please explain it?
No, you're going away from the subject now.
Okay.
From the mathematical code.
Yes.
The mathematical code proves that every letter in the Quran is correct except these 2 verses that were human injected. Show me this book again, the 2 verses. Let me see. Okay. These 2 verses are at the end of Surah number 9. Okay. I want you to read the title of the surah to the audience. Okay? When I zoom the camera on him, he's going to read the title of the surah, everything that is written in here. Surah 9.
Surah number 9.
Yes.
Surah التوبة مدنية إلا الآيتين الأخيرتين مكيتان وآياتها 129 نزلت بعد المائدة.
Okay, this says that this is surah entitled the Tawbah. It is a Medinan surah, except the last 2 verses. They were Meccan. Now, if you go to Egypt and buy a coin that says on it this was done in the year 350 BC, will the people laugh at you or not?
Well,
because there was no date before Jesus Christ called 350 BC. There was no dating then. And everybody realized that this is a stupid tourist who bought this coin. Now, we are not stupid to accept a Medinan surah with 2 Meccan verses at the end of it. So even this Quran that you carry is telling you that these 2 verses are fake. They're human injected. The mathematical code exposes them. The word Allah, the word Ilah, the word Rabb are all increased by 1 because of these 2 verses.
How did you discover it's been injected? How did you find
by
it?
the mathematical code. The mathematical code confirms that the Quran is perfect and that these 2 sentences were added in it to exalt the Prophet Muhammad and to worship him. See? As you know, they deal with the Prophet.
So, by your mathematical, as you name it, the divine mathematics.
Don't forget the mathematics. You just read yourself now at the title of the surah that the whole surah is Medinan except the last 2 verses. They're Meccan. How could that be? When the Prophet moved from Mecca to Medina, everything revealed after that was Medina. How did the 2 Meccan verses get injected in the Medinan surah. You do not find Meccan verses in Medinan surahs. You find Medinan surahs in Meccan. You find Medinan verses in Meccan surahs, but not the other way around. So if we think a little bit, you yourself read it now, and this tells you that these two verses are at least suspect. So the mathematical code proved beyond doubt, plus a lot of other evidence. Even al-Bukhari says these two verses are not correct. If you read it carefully, and you read the story of collecting the Quran, okay, recording the Quran, it tells you that every single verse in this Quran was witnessed by more than one witness, except these two verses, the last two verses of Surah 9. They were witnessed by one person, Khuzaymah ibn Thabit al-Ansari. Ansari means he is Medinan, and the two verses are Meccan. I mean, it doesn't take too much intelligence.
A lot of people, they moved from Medina to Mecca after...
No, not al-Ansar. This is Khuzaymah ibn Thabit al-Ansari. So these are the only two verses of the Quran that were witnessed by only one witness, according to the stories. I mean, forget anything else. Even assuming that those stories are correct.
So you want to say, in other words, so those two verses are not Quran, actually.
That's right.
Or probably they are Quran, and they should be in a different place.
No,
but you say they are not Quran, period.
They are not Quran, period.
They are not Quran.
That's right. They stand out by many overwhelming evidence, proofs, many proofs.
Also,
but this, you have to write a book about that.
You have to write a book about that.
Right.
Also, by inventing the divine mathematical codes, that's why you claim, or we assume that you are a messenger of God because of this one, right? Or there is any other evidence?
Well, the fact that we want to establish here is that no one can touch the Quran unless he is a sincere believer, all right?
If you are a sincere believer,
the Quran says,
of God. I am a sincere believer.
A sincere believer will not lie and say, I'm a messenger of God.
If you are a sincere believer,
if you are a sincere believer,
a messenger of God.
If you are a sincere believer, you will not lie about God. Is this correct?
No.
Wait a minute. A sincere believer will not lie about God. Is this correct?
Yes.
Right. So, a person who finds something in the Quran, especially if it is the secret miracle of the Quran, this person must be a sincere believer. And if this person is a sincere believer, as established by the fact of discovering the secret of the Quran, then this person will not possibly lie against God and say that he's a messenger of God.
Why you precisely say, I am a messenger of God, since I discovered this? Why you didn't say, all people, all Muslims, I am coming to correct something like Hassan al-Imam, like Ghazali, like Muhammad Abdu? They didn't, they were really sincerely in Islam, and they correct a lot of ways in Islam. But they never claimed that they are a messenger of God.
Were they sincere believers?
They were sincere believers.
Therefore, they will not lie about God. If they were not messengers of God, they will not lie about God. Did they claim to be messengers of God?
They never claimed they are a messenger of God.
So they were not messengers of God.
So why you claim you are a messenger of God? Because of this mathematical codes only?
No, because I am a messenger of God.
Well, give me a proof that you are a messenger actually. Not this, because this is
my name also is mentioned in the Quran here. If you open this index...
your name as Al-Rashidin Al-Khulafa has nothing to do with...
Well, you're entitled to say what you want, but what is the root word of my name?
Your name is Rashad.
Yes.
Rashad has nothing... my name is Abdul Rahman.
Hold it. Let's go step by step, okay? Yes. The root word of my name is Rashada. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. What do you see here?
This is about Arabic language. Has nothing to do with the Quran.
Right. We're talking about Arabic language.
Okay.
This is the index of the Quran again, page 320. And the root of my word, is it here? Do you see it here? Rashada?
Your name is Rashad.
I know. The root word of Rashad is Rashada.
Yes.
Right? And do you see Rashada here?
Yes.
Okay, Rashada is between this mark here and this mark, alright? Mm-hmm. So I want you to count the number of mentionings of the root word Rashada in the Quran. You count it yourself. Go ahead.
Okay, whatever. I count. You did count it, so I want to waste...
No, go ahead. You go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
count up to
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Yes.
The root word of my name is mentioned 19 times. The mathematical code of the Quran is based on the number 19, as you see.
Yes.
Now, do you think this is coincidence?
This is not your name, Dr. Khalifa. Excuse me, Rashada, it's an Arabic word.
It is the root word.
My name is Abdurrahman. If
If my name Rashad is mentioned in multiple 19, will you believe it?
No, I won't.
Why?
Because simply it has nothing to do with the Quran.
So you think this is coincidence, in other words?
No, not coincidence, but this has nothing to do with your name. Rashad or Rashad has nothing to do with your name.
We said that there's a mathematical code in the Quran.
Yes. Wait. Did you stop it? Stop it. We were talking about number 19.
Right. The mathematical code of the Quran is based on number 19. The root word of my name is mentioned 19 times, which is
what's your name? Again, also, I am saying what's your name is saying the word of Rashada or Rashad. It doesn't mean Rashad Khalifa.
Hold it. I'm not talking about Rashad. I'm talking about Rashada. The root word of my name is mentioned in the Quran 19 times, which is in accordance with the mathematical code. But also my name, Rashad, and Khalifa. If you add the numbers of surahs and verses, you come up with multiples of 19.
When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned Muhammad, He meant Muhammad.
Yes.
Ibn Abdullah.
Yes.
But when He mentioned Rashad, it doesn't mean He mentioned Rashad.
Because the Quran was delivered 1400 years before Rashad Khalifa. God will not.
But He doesn't know.
God will not put in the Quran that I'm sending Rashad Khalifa. He will not say that. So He put it in mathematically coded terms that are not to be revealed until the mathematical code is revealed. Okay?
This
is probably why there is no other Rashad Khalifa that I know of. There was one Rashad Khalifa that born in my family. My cousin had a boy and he named him Rashad Khalifa, and the boy died when he was young. And
I mean, if I go
twice not to do that.
If I go to any Arabic country and I found Rashad Khalifa,
who claims to be a messenger of God.
No, any Rashad Khalifa.
Yeah.
Nobody lives in this world by name Rashad Khalifa but you.
I don't know anyone else named Rashad Khalifa
but
me.
If we found someone by this name, what do you think?
And he says he's a messenger of God?
No, he will say I'm Rashad Khalifa.
Well, fine, he's Rashad Khalifa. But if he says he's a messenger of God, that's something else. Does he say he's a messenger of God?
You approve that you are a messenger of God by the divine mathematical code and 19 names of your name. Right. What else? Can you have
there are hundreds of other things.
Let's hear it.
I cannot tell you.
Let's hear it because
I'm giving you the physical
in order
evidence.
To be a messenger of God, you have to be above ordinary people.
Yes.
Above like
no.
Like you are doing something.
Yes.
like you are doing something. No human being can do it.
No. This is not true. The Quran teaches that Moses went to one of our servants, Abda min Ibadina. And this one of our servants taught Moses a few things, and Moses was a bad teacher. So I want to correct you that saying that the messengers are above the ordinary.
But the Quran said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Musa some kind of devices in order to appear in front of his own people, in order to make the people believe that, hold it, this is not a human being, ordinary. He is not a magic. This is not a magic.
Right.
This is something from God.
Anyway, I've given you enough proofs, and I want you to ask anybody to give me a proof that I'm not a messenger of God. One proof.
You haven't convinced me. You haven't convinced me. No, listen. We are trying. You haven't convinced me so far. You are a messenger. You didn't give me something to astonish me or to make me say, "Oh, he is above mankind."
Yes.
So I have to believe it.
Let me read something for you.
Okay. So you're holding this book and you don't believe in it.
What do you mean I don't believe in it?
You said this book is not correct.
No, the complete Quran is here. There's some addition.
Some additions. Yeah. Okay.
You can't make statements like that. Look at this. وقالوا لن نؤمن لك حتى تفجر لنا من الأرض ينبوعا. They said we will not believe unless you have a spring gush out of the earth. أو تكون لك جنة من نخيل وعنب فتفجر الأنهار خلالها تفجيرا. Or you possess a garden of dates and grapes with rivers flowing in. أو تسقط السماء كما زعمت علينا كسفا أو تأتي بالله والملائكة قبيلا. Or you drop the heaven over us, the sky over us as you claim, or bring God and the angels before our eyes. أو يكون لك بيت من زخرف. Or you possess a mansion, fantastic mansion. أو ترقى في السماء, or see you climb to the sky. ولن نؤمن لرقيك. Even if you do that, we will not believe. So I don't want anybody to be convinced. All I can do is deliver the message and tell you what the proofs are, and then it's up to you to take it or leave it.
In your book here, Quran, Hadith, and Islam, also one of your book you wrote about Quran, Hadith, and Islam. You said here, we don't believe in anything named intercession. What does that mean? You don't believe in
We
intercession?
believe the Quran that says, كل الله الشفاعة جميعا. To God belongs all intercession. So nobody possesses intercession.
You don't believe that the messenger of God will make shafa'ah to the Muslims?
The Quran says that the message of God will not have any shafa'ah, any intercession. It says, إن تستغفر لهم 70 مرة فلن يغفر الله لهم. God tells Muhammad, if you ask forgiveness for them 70 times, God will not forgive them. So there you have it. Ibrahim made intercession on behalf of his father, but his father is going to hell. Doesn't matter. Ibrahim is God's friend. So I'm afraid we have to quit. If you have one last question, I'll answer one last question.
Well, I have a lot of questions actually, but if you're gonna quit, we want to go anywhere. But I hope you will, before you quit, you will comment or you will say something you would like to say to the Muslims.
What I like to say is that Islam today has nothing to do with the Prophet Muhammad, and it is the objective of all the sincere believers to restore Islam to the religion preached by the Prophet Muhammad. As I mentioned in this program, the Muslims around the world are not doing anything correctly. Everything is wrong. The adhan, the ablution, the salat, the zakat, the hajj, the fasting, everything is done not according to the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad that came to us in the Quran. And it is the objective to restore Islam to its original pristine purity as preached by the Prophet Muhammad, the final prophet. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, Dr. Khalifa, and I really appreciate your time.